Well, the rain came down in Q1, and also the tensions at Mercedes rose at the same time as George Russell forgot he had mirrors and tried to ram his teammate off the road. Welcome back to episode 290 of Grid Talk. Today we are here to discuss qualifying for the 2023 Spanish Grand Prix. My name is Tom Downey, and joining me to review this rather interesting session, we have Louis Edwards. Hello, sir.
Hello there.
Hello there. Also alongside me from the Monkey Seats and also of F1 Chronicle fame, we have Tom Horrox.
Hi there. Great to be here again.
Hello, sir. And then last but by absolutely no means least, we have Mr. Jawad Yaqub.
Hello there.
Hello, sir. Just before we get into this episode, we must thank our sponsor, BetOnline. So BetOnline is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news and scores. Get the latest odds and lines, as well as the latest matchup reports for this year's NBA basketball playoffs. BetOnline is your sports intel headquarters this season, as we have you covered for all your insider sports wagering needs. From basketball, MLB, NHL hockey, golf, to UFC and boxing. The easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favourite casino and card games available to play right now from your home. Make sure to get into the action today, so head to the website or use your mobile device to join and be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, to receive your 50% bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts. Also, just before we begin this podcast, as always, we would love it if you could take 5 to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you're one of the 72% of people who are not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider helping us out with a like and a subscribe. So, now that the formalities are out the way, let's get into it. So, 2023, we've got the Spanish Grand Prix up tomorrow. And let's have a quick notice through the qualifying order. We're going to go from bottom to top for all you lucky listeners. So first of all, Louis, I'm going to give you Williams. This should be brief. Yet again, another not great quali, probably dodgy race. Do you think they've got any chance?
No, not really. And I think the most interesting thing that you could probably say about Williams is, I don't know how many people have seen this, but circulating, especially on Twitter, was a floor shot of the Williams and how it's comparing to like the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull that we saw last week, and just how plate and bare it is. It's the lack of like streaks or anything. You can just see how little development has gone into the floor, and I think that's a good indicator why we're not seeing this great pace from Williams. We know that there's definitely potential. Albon has done some great things in the car. We get to really see it from Sargent, but today just shows on a normal sort of more conventional track that Williams is very, very slow, and that is going to be worrying for Williams as they head into this European season. And it's not looking good for the race tomorrow because they only have one place to go, which is up. But how likely is they going to do it? Probably not very.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not like they can fall much further back, to be honest, is it? And it's interesting what you said about the floor as well. They obviously don't have the budget of some of your bigger teams, let alone their catering budget. So I think it's very much a case that they are sort of making do with what they've got. But Tom, rather surprise exits in Q1. P19, last year's pole sitter, Charles Leclerc. Now, he was complaining of rear tyres. I think especially going through that final sort of double right-hander, which obviously used to be the chicane. Maybe he's better off going through the chicane so he can cool his tyres down. But not great for him today.
No, bit of a shock, it has to be said. As you said, last year's pole sitter and Ferrari. I'm actually surprised that Sainz did a lot better than Leclerc on this, because they've not favoured that well as a team. Leclerc is a bit of a qualifying specialist, but he just didn't seem to know what the problem was. He's only gone 0.2 of a second quicker than his practice 2 time, which is just like, for the track evolution that we were seeing. I know there was a bit of rain, but the track evolution we were seeing, and everyone was going so much faster, and to only manage 0.2 quicker than his P2 time, and he had multiple stabs at it as well. It's not like we saw in was it Monaco, where he had Hamilton like on the edge, constantly trying to get through Q1, then Q2, and then just gradually scraping through. And it wasn't like that. He had clear runs. There wasn't anything massively in the way. It was just a really, really surprising performance. And I hope they find something wrong with that car and that they can fix it, or he's not going to progress very far in the race. I mean, it looks like that car should be fairly good to overtake. So pit lane start, new power unit, he might be able to push his way into the points, but he's racking up the penalties and all of the things that they've had to replace on that car already. It's not good. So it's not looking great for the race tomorrow. I certainly don't think he's going to be in with a chance of major points, but potentially like a P6, P7. He's got some fast cars around him as well, so maybe he can have some fun.
Yeah, and it's a very good point what you said about him already racking up the engine penalties. As we saw, second race of the season, he was taking engine penalties, so not boding well. Like you said, he may well start from the pit lane, putting the power unit in. Makes sense if he's that far down. But Jawad, speaking of Ferrari-powered shenanigans going out in Q1, although I think one of them did make it Q2, to be fair, Alfa Romeo, obviously, a.k.a. Sauber, a.k.a. whoever else they've been over the years, another lackluster showing, it could be said. I think we've said it enough times. They're just treading water until the Audi money comes in. They showed some pace to begin with, but then as track evolution kicked in, they took their place where they belong, at the back of the grid. And do you think they've got any chance of, I don't know, maybe sneaking a naughty little point tomorrow?
Not if they get there. It depends on their strategy, of course. We saw Valtteri Bottas struggle and lose the car at turn 12, had a bit of a spin, and being out qualified by his teammate again. I think that's kind of been the narrative this season for him, is just lacking that pace. And Bottas, when he was with Mercedes, he was really good in qualifying, and we saw him up there consistently. But it just doesn't seem to have it over Joe. And I think that's, a really glowing endorsement of Zhou Guanyu. He's doing so well in a car that, there's not much to show from it. So, in those individual moments there, he's doing quite well. Bottas, not so much. Where they're going to be in the race tomorrow, it all depends. It's a strategic race. This one, overtaking is limited, as we know, but that could change potentially with the opening up of the final chicane, double right-hander, like you said. So hopefully they can mix it and get up there if possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with what you said. I think Alfa Romeo, the correct Alfa team, I think they're going to need a bit of luck tomorrow. And also, I just want to correct myself. I believe I said double left-hander earlier for the final sector. I obviously meant double right-hander. But even that doesn't excuse their pace. Louis, next up, we have the AlphaTauri drivers. Nick de Vries almost lived up to his name of Nick de Vries and had a couple of spins in Q1. Both he and Tsunoda, they put in some decent times, but as we've talked about already, track evolution kicked in, and although they went quick, they then ultimately worked their way a bit, they ended a bit further down the grid. An improved showing, maybe continuing some form from last week. Do you think they could maybe be in with a shout of perhaps a point here or there, especially especially if there's some shenanigans in front of them tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen that in the general sort of scheme of things, that AlphaTauri is a little bit better on the race runs, and we've seen that strategies that they've tend to work out, as Yuki has shown, and in Monaco was a great example of that when he kept his nose clean and everything was going normal. He was doing incredibly well until his brakes failed. But it was definitely shaky for Nick. Him and his car were a bit all over the place for much of Q1. There was a little weird damp patch on the exit of the entry to turn 12, and that was catching a lot of drivers out, and it caught him out a couple of times. But once he eventually managed to figure it out, he got him through quite nicely into Q2. I think their pace where they are is, I think it's realistic to where they just are sitting in the standings at the moment. Where their car is, I don't think it was too much of a shock that they were that low down. I don't think it would have really been realistic for them to get much higher up. But it's a place that they can kick on. 14th, 15th is not the worst place you can be, but it's going to definitely be challenging for them to start moving up the pack tomorrow.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, you know, they've got more of a chance, I think, especially given where they are. But looking a bit, starting to look a bit further up the grid, Jawad, we have the Mercedes pair now. George Russell went out in Q2 after trying to get another run in. Ultimately, had a bit of a coming together with his teammates as they're both on the main straights, and then I believe he went out in P12 in the end. And his teammate Hamilton was, if he was obviously in the top 10. Let me just refresh my memory on where he was. He was P5. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So Hamilton P5, and then Russell P12. Sort of putting aside their group positions, what do you make of their coming together on the main straight?
Obviously, Russell just wasn't checking his mirrors and had no idea that his teammate, let alone another car behind him, and ended up taking a piece of his front wing end plate off as well, which could have been potentially disastrous for the team. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen Mercedes cars come together in Barcelona in the past. Hamilton will know all too well from 2016, but the stewards have summoned George, from what I understand. So whether he cops any further pain from it, I think, the fact that he got eliminated in Q2 is pain enough. For Lewis, being considered, Max's closest competitor, or even, an off chance for pole position in Q3 was interesting to hear, given that it's not something we've heard for such a long time. So, but then ending up P5, also pending, I guess, the investigation into Pierre Gasly as well for his role in impeding a couple of drivers during qualifying, so he could move up onto the second row of the grid. So not saying that he's going to be in contention for the win or anything, but there could be a chance for podium depending on how the pace of the McLaren ahead as well. And for George, it was just a silly error, not paying attention to what's going on around him. So but I don't think any further pain other than starting outside the top 10 will come to him.
Yeah, it was a bit of a it was just an odd incident that they were so close together on the grid anyway. But to me, it's just got sort of undertones of 2016 all over again, with Hamilton and then the arrogant teammate, this time being George Russell. As you might have gathered, I'm not really a Russell fan, especially after that. But speaking of screwing up an opportunity and going out in Q2, I've been looking forward to this one. Tom, Sergio Perez went out in Q2. Off you go.
Oh, I mean, for those who aren't on YouTube, my head is in my hands. I mean, he got away with it in Q1. I thought he was going to go out in Q1. And then, he sent it through the gravel, and then end of Q2 again through the gravel, like completely on his own. And he just couldn't get in. I mean, even with taking that car through the gravel, he still should have had enough, in my opinion, to at least get into Q3, because that car is so fast. He probably would have lost. He had enough time to scrub his tires back and recharge the battery and go again. Yes, he would have lost some life out of the tires, which we saw from Hamilton when he had to go again in, I think it was Q2. That time got him into the top 3. So how Perez still couldn't get in, I don't know. And for me, this is not just the end of Perez's championship. I say championship push. He's never had a championship push. This is the end of Perez's career. I will put on the line right now, Sergio Perez will never win another Formula One race. That is what I'm going to say. And this season, the car is dominant, but I just can't see him winning a race this season the way he's driving. And beyond this season, as long as he's paired with Max, I can't see him winning a race unless Max is out, and Max just isn't making mistakes. Maybe he gets a win in a situation where there's some crazy stuff going on, but on pace, Perez will not be the quickest driver on track again. I think that's it for him now. I think I know I'm going to get like a lot of stick for that, but this is just my opinion, and he's just not been good enough in any stretch. I genuinely believe that Alex Albon did a better job in that Red Bull than Sergio Perez has done. Perez is good at slowing people up when they're behind him. That's the only good thing he's ever done in a Red Bull car, apart from beating Max in one race. Whoop-de-doo, I'm waving a flag. Congratulations. Bye-bye, Perez. I've had enough of you.
Tell me how you really feel. Okay, thanks for that, Tom. That was if you want to hear any more hot takes, be sure to check out our back catalogue of shows, as I'm sure Tom has plenty in there. And if you feel any different, please direct all hate towards him and not me. I'm the other Tom. For once, I'm the one who is sitting on the fence, which is very unusual for me. But let's just. I think we only take a minute after that. But Louis, just looking a little bit further up and down the grid, we have in P10, I believe, Nico Hülkenberg, as Danny Rick would have said, and then his teammate all the way down to P17, Kevin Magnussen. Bit of a sort of contrast of fortunes for them today. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's the end of Kevin Magnussen's career, really. No, it's Haas is a weird one. We feel like we've reverted back to sort of start of the season where Hülkenberg was putting in these mega qualifying performances, and we're just not seeing as much from Kevin Magnussen. And it feels like a weird circle that we've come with Haas. I think it's incredibly great what Hülkenberg was able to do. I mean, he initially did stick at P3. It was a remarkable lap, and I think given that he managed to get his Haas that far up at one stage, I think it has to be commended. He's really got much better grip of this car than his teammate, and he should definitely be applauded. As for Magnussen, I just don't think it went his way today. It was just an unfortunate the fact that that track was ramping up, and I think he was just didn't able to get the most out of that car. Otherwise, there's just not really much else to say for Haas. I think it'll be very tough for Hülkenberg to keep on to that 10th. I don't think points is definitely a guarantee for them tomorrow. I think they're going to have to really work for it, given that they have drivers that are going to be coming from the back and looking to steal that place off him.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair, to be honest. As much as it sort of hurts me to say that about what's his name, Nico Hülkenberg. I literally just said it. What am I on about? It's sadly, I think, well, I do fear that he's going to go back, especially when you've got people like Perez. Although apparently his career's finished, if you ask Tom, and George Russell, provided he doesn't try and spearfish his teammate down the main straight. So that'll be an interesting one to watch tomorrow. But looking just looking a bit further up the grid, then Tom, I'm going to go back to you. The Alpine drivers now. Esteban Ocon qualified P6, and his teammate Pierre Gasly qualified P4. Now we're going to caveat this with the Pierre Gasly one because he has to see the stewards for 2 counts of impeding. Both of them took place in Q1. One was on Max, and the other was on I can't remember who, but the other one was in the final corner. I remember that much. So if he does get a penalty for either one of those, he should get a penalty for both of them. We'll likely see him drop to P10 or so. But at the moment, he is P4. So Alpine, Tom, continue some good form from last week. They're beginning to look quite strong, aside from impeding people. Do you think they stand a chance of a good result tomorrow?
I really do. I mean, obviously, this is penalty depending, and I think they've got every chance of moving forwards. And SD second bestie back there in 7th at the moment, but but probably going to move up to 6th with a Gasly penalty. And the Gasly blocking Sainz, was the other one in Q1. It was a pretty spicy one. It was, he let Leclerc through and then moved back across to the racing line. I think the team have got to take some responsibility for this, because they would have told him, oh, there's a Ferrari coming up. And at that point, he's navigating 2 very fast right-handers. He hasn't got time to check in his mirror. So he's moving across, just about to start a fast lap, or just finishing a fast lap. I can't remember which one it was, to be honest. But either way, he's just pulled back onto the racing line, very similar to what George Russell did. And his team should have told him he was there. And that one, I have a bit of sympathy for him. The Max one, less so. It actually made Max abort his lap as a result of it. And it didn't make any difference, obviously, because Verstappen had so much pace. It was never going to be a problem. But it was sloppy from the team. It was sloppy from Gasly as well on the second one. But I mean, 4th is a great performance. To stick that in 4th place, that's a phenomenal performance to outqualify Hamilton, who really did look like he was on it. But I just want to mention, actually, if you don't mind, with regards to the George Russell potential penalty, if they give George Russell a penalty for that, they need to ask some serious questions, because Pierre Gasly, 2 points away from a race ban, fully swiped his teammate off the track, and they didn't give him a penalty because they said, oh, it was because it was intra-team. So if they don't give Russell a penalty, or if they give Russell a penalty, then I just think that's massive inconsistency. And Gunther Steiner is right, because you need to have this consistency of penalties throughout. So I just wanted to mention that anyway. But yeah, so I genuinely think that the Alpine looks strong. It looks like a better race car than the Aston Martin, which is something I didn't expect to be in a position to say at the start of the weekend. Certainly in Hamilton's hands, the car looks like it's better than the Alpine, but I think that's going to be the race for tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to see Max Verstappen stroll off into the distance most likely, but I think that fight between Hamilton and the Alpines, and then a recovering Fernando Alonso, is going to be spicy. And I really hope that Lando Norris can get some headlines in there as well.
Yeah, that is an interesting point, actually, and I'm glad you mentioned that about about it being an inter-team battle, because surely that doesn't matter. But as we've seen with Haas, who are we to criticise the sporting integrity? Because the FIA have never ever breached their own sporting integrity over the last sort of 10, 20 years, not a single time, and I'm not opening that can of worms again. Jawad, just looking sort of well inside the top 10. I'm going to give you Aston Martin, obviously Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, the home hero. Alonso had a bit of an off in the last right hand in Q1. Looked like it damaged his floor because the team were out with a glue gun fixing it. So he could replace that like for like in Parc Ferme tomorrow. We won't know. His teammates, Stroll, put in a pretty good qualified P6. Alonso is ultimately P9. I mean, that's given how much sort of promise Aston Martin has shown, and how last week how people were talking about there's perhaps a missed opportunity for them to win. Do you think it's a bit more of a sort of bump down to reality, bearing in mind they've been outqualified by a Ferrari and a McLaren, an Alpine and a Mercedes?
Perhaps a little bit, yeah, because when you look at the way the season's panned out, this is actually the second permanent circuit that we've raced on out of 6 races. We've been, 5 street tracks so far, and I count Melbourne as kind of a hybrid semi-permanent track. But yeah, for them to be where they are, like, I guess Alonso would have been further up if he didn't have that floor damage that he sustained in Q1, and how very high tech is Formula One that they're using a glue gun to fix the floor, which they were lucky to be able to do during that red flag. But for Stroll, first time I think he's out qualified his teammate this season. There was, you have to ask, or when are we going to start asking the question that, they've got the second fastest car, or they've had the second fastest car this season, yet compared to his teammate, he's been nowhere all year. And yes, he did come into the season with broken wrists, and he did a very good job in the first couple of races, and very admirable. But yeah, in the last few races, he's kind of not really been anywhere near his teammate. And yes, Alonso is a demon, and one of the greatest of all time up there. But yeah, Stroll really has to pick it up, and I think he did a pretty good job today considering where Alonso was, where they're going to be in the race. Who knows? They've proved to have good tire life in that car. That car's been really well known for how well it can look after its tires. So, they might just play the strategy game and see if they can pick up a few places. But Alonso's been consistent so far this season. I don't think that's going to change on the accounts of him being P9.
No, and it's Alonso in his home race in a competitive car. You can be sure that we're going to see something, whether it's a bit of flair or whether he's sort of moving very late to overtake and under braking. It's Alonso. There's going to be something, and there's going to be some sassy radio message. I think we can all be sure of that. Louis, I'm looking forward to this one. In Q3, both drivers, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri, P10, Dom the Cap, my friend. Lando Norris, P3 in a McLaren. This year's McLaren. Take it away.
Lando, I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful sort of redemption arc that we're slowly seeing from McLaren. I mean, I remember all the way back in Bahrain where I was absolutely ripping, shreds into McLaren after making 6 stops just because of the hydraulic leak and just generally how awful and off the pace McLaren were that weekend. But it's slowly coming back, and now that we're back on some conventional circuits, P3 is a mega job from Lando, and not also diminishing what Oscar Piastri's done, because P9 is great as well. I think it's probably closer to where McLaren actually are. I think it's going to be quite a bit of a struggle for Lando to hold on to that P3, but I love it. I don't care. I'm here for it all the time. Lando is a brilliant driver, and even when he's in, let's face it, a pretty mediocre car, he can still pull out some amazing performances, and it's just testament to what an amazing driver he is. And if he's given an opportunity in a better team, I think he would absolutely fly. But at the moment, he's got to deal with what he's got, and he's doing brilliantly, and I love it. And I love Oscar as well. He's also he's also doing great. But we'll see how long my happiness lasts for tomorrow. If he gets absolutely swallowed up by the Mercs and the Astons and the Alpines, it might be a bit more of a sorrow day tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, let's just celebrate that McLaren are both in the top 10 on merit. So so let's just be happy for them. And also, I'm going to go out there and say it. Piastri has proved that McLaren were right to dump Danny Rick. They've made the right decision. I'm sure Danny Rick was laughing with his 20 million whatever he got, but Piastri, he's proved his worth, I'd say. But just looking to P2, home hero or the subpar home hero, because a lot of noise was about Alonso. Carlos Sainz, P2, showing his teammate how it's done. But we'll probably be told to get out of the way for him anyway. Do you think he can win tomorrow?
No. I don't think he can. I would love it. Don't get me wrong. Carlos Sainz is genuinely one of my favourite drivers on the grid, and I'm glad I've got him as well, because he's the hometown hero, very much forgotten man this season for Spain, given the emergence of a certain pensioner. But he's done a fantastic job. When Leclerc was faltering, he's just delivered, and it was a very quiet session. You didn't hear anything from him. You didn't really see much apart from when he was being impeded by people. We didn't really see him that much, and he was really, really good. It was a really good session, and I'm really, really happy for him. I really hope that he can at least maintain this podium and take the fight forward, because he's not had the best of luck against Leclerc so far this year. Well, certainly hasn't had the best of performance against Leclerc this year. He is ahead of him in points, which is something that we don't really expect when you see how things have gone on. But he's not had the best of performances. So I hope that he can, on home territory where he's always scored points, he's always done well here. I would really like to see him push for a win. I don't think he'll win unless Max has a problem, but if he can push for a win, then I'll be happy with that. So yes, very, very happy and very impressed with Sainz's performance, because I didn't think that Ferrari were there at all, and they seem to be, which is good.
Yeah, and I mean, given the the rather abrupt exit of his teammate, it's safe to say that Sainz has Sainz has proved once again that he deserves to be in that seat, and no matter how much Ferrari were trying to mess him up with strategy, once again he's done it. But Jawad, I mean, this is becoming a bit of a recurring theme this year, just a little bit. P1, Max Verstappen set a sensational lap time, and yes, I'm a Max fan, okay, so bear that in mind. He did set an absolute screamer of a lap at the start of Q3. I will caveat again, he was on fresh softs when everybody else was on used softs, so that will account for, 6/10, 7/10 difference, obviously depending on that, but it still shows that he was 4/10 clear of the rest of the field, give or take. I mean, Max in that car, just everything is sort of just clicking. Do you think he's just going to sail off into the sunset tomorrow? Do you think he's actually going to get challenged off the line? Or do you think it's his to lose, basically?
Oh, I think it's just going to be another simply lovely afternoon for Max. And yeah, like you said, he set that blistering lap at the start of Q3. He didn't even need to set a second lap at the end, because that's how far ahead he was when everyone else decided to get fresh soft tyres on. So yeah, barring anything happening weather-wise or strategy-wise, like Christian Horner said, there's no stopping him at the moment. And, when his, on paper, closest championship rival is all the way back outside the top 10, I think it's just going to be 25, 26 points in the bag, looking at it on paper as well for Max. But you can't, kind of running out of adjectives for the guy at the moment, because he just continues to rewrite the history books. And it'll be his 40th career win, so then one away from equaling Ayrton Senna next time round if he does get to 40 wins tomorrow. So it's unbelievable where he's at the moment, and just the form he's in.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously it's the first time he's been on pole actually in Spain, because obviously last year Leclerc was on pole. But no, this is the first time that Max is going to be starting P1 in Barcelona. I mean, I do think he's just going to sail off into the sunset, especially given nobody's really around him to challenge. But that was just that was our roundup of qualifying. Given we still got a few moments, I just want to pose a question to each one of you individually, because I'd like to get your viewpoint on this. It's about Aston Martin, and Louis, I'm going to go to you first. Do you think Lance Stroll is going to cost him P2 in the Constructors?
I mean, off today's thing, you'd say no, but I think overall in the sort of the case of the season, yes.
Okay. Tom, what do you think?
No, he's not going to cost him P2. He's going to cost him P3.
Okay, who's going to be P2 then?
Well, it's going to be Mercedes and Ferrari, and then Aston going to come fourth.
What time do you need to leave again?
Soon.
Can I bring it forward? Okay, that's a very interesting take. Jawad, do you think Lance Stroll's going to cost Mercedes P2? Mercedes. Thanks, Tom. Do you think Lance Stroll's going to cost Aston Martin P2 in the Constructors this year?
Absolutely, unless he can get his act together, which we've seen throughout his career, he can't be consistent. They're not going to finish P2.
Yeah, no, yeah. I just wanted to pose that one past you, because I was thinking about it. Yeah, when I was watching Quali and then obviously Monaco last week, so I was just interested to get your thoughts on it. And one very quick question, which I have for you. Again, it's an Aston Martin question, and I'll go with Louis, Tom, Jawad again. Is Fernando Alonso going to win a race this year?
No.
Okay, Tom, is Alonso going to win this year? Any race?
No.
Okay, Jawad.
I'm going to say yes. Either Hungary or Singapore would be my picks because there's circuits that they did identify earlier on as being potentials outside Monaco.
Okay, all right, fair enough. If Stroll crashes in Singapore and Alonso wins, we're never going to hear the end of it, mind. Let's just look forward. Let's just look ahead to some predictions for tomorrow. So, Louis, give me your podium and a bold prediction.
My podium is going to be Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz, and I'm going to keep Lando on the podium. I reckon he's going to nick P3. And my bold prediction is that neither Leclerc, Russell, or Perez will find a way into the top 10.
Okay, wow, that's a fairly bold prediction. Go on then, Tom. Let's hear yours. This should be good.
Cool. I am currently manifesting right now. I am trying to make things happen. So my podium very much manifests is what I want to happen, not what I think will happen. So I am going for a Carlos Sainz win with Lando Norris second and Lewis Hamilton third. And my bold prediction is Nick de Vries will score a points finish. He's had a good weekend, a very underrated weekend so far. Apart from a few little spins, I think he's done very well, and he outqualified Tsunoda by 0.4. That's no mean feat.
Fair play, it's not. And Tsunoda has come on, quite a lot this year. Jawad, give me your podium and a bold prediction.
I'm going to keep the top three as they are: Verstappen, Sainz, and Norris. Great for Norris if he can be on the podium. And my bold prediction will be if Gasly gets the grid penalty, we're going to see a repeat of Mercedes 2016 between him and Ocon taking out each other at turn 4. So
we already saw that at your home race, mind. Yeah. So yeah, I think we've got a couple of Merc 2016s going on this year. And then just for me, very quickly, my bold prediction, my podium is going to be, I'm going to manifest and I'm going to say Carlos Sainz is going to win with Max Verstappen P2, and then Hamilton is going to be P3. My bold prediction is going to be George Russell doesn't shout crikey on the radio. And I think that's a very bold prediction. So just very quickly, I just want to give everybody a very quick chance to give yourselves a little promo. So tell us a bit about where we can find you, why you're in my house. Please go away, and where can we listen to you? So, Louis, first of all, what do you do?
I'm not going to tell you what my job is, but I am on here. I am a co-host. I will host the occasional show, like the preview show that you can go and listen to before tomorrow's race. And yeah, if you want to find more from me, make sure to subscribe to the Grid Talk YouTube channel. And follow us on Twitter.
Absolutely. Tom, where can we find you? Well, I know where you live anyway, but...
Gosh, don't tell people that. If you haven't had quite enough George Russell and Sergio Perez bashing, then come along to the Monkey Seat or on the socials at Monkey Seat Pod, and we're available on all the major podcasting platforms. Carl gets very sweary about George Russell, and I get very disappointed in Sergio Perez. So we do occasionally sometimes talk about things and have a little bit of insight as well, but not often.
Yeah, Monkey Seat is well worth a listen. If you like unfiltered F1, go and have a listen to them. It's pretty amusing. And Jawad, where can we find you, mate?
Yeah, casually host Hit the Apex podcast on my own. So that's on all the good podcast platforms. There's a Twitter account associated with it at Hit the Apex Media, but to be honest, I don't use it that much. Instagram's probably the best place to find me at Dr46, and I do write articles for the Raw.com, and a couple have got published on F1 Chronicle as well.
Lovely stuff. And then myself, I am obviously a co-host, I should say, on here, and I also co-host Formula Talk, which is our support series show, which was the brainchild of one of the panelists here, Sophia. So you can find that everywhere you find Grid Talk. Speaking of finding Grid Talk is available on YouTube, where most episodes are recorded live, as well as Amazon Fire, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Music, Verbal, and Pocket Casts. Just search Formula One Grid Talk for our back catalogue of shows with previews and reactions to qualifying and race results. Please consider supporting the channel on Patreon so we can get mics, lights, and better recording equipment. Also, make sure you subscribe so you are the first to know when each new episode is released. We will be back with plenty more F1 content, namely tomorrow, to review the 2023 Spanish Grand Prix. As of now, thank you ever so much for listening or indeed watching. Thank you for being here. And this has been the Grid Talk podcast presented by Bet Online, and goodbye. I nearly forgot to speak at the end then. Right. Thank you, gentlemen. We are just going live into a little post show. Tom, I'm conscious you have limited time. So if you want to jump straight off, please carry on.
I'll just say that there's currently no news on penalties on Russell or Gasly. So I'll hand that baton to someone else to look after. Have a great post show, guys. Bye.
Cheers, Betty. See you soon. Right, and then just like that, he walked out of my life. Let's just have a quick look at some of the comments on YouTube, if I can even find what I'm doing, because I really don't want to hear my own voice as well. Make sure that's muted. Okay. Ooh, hello. We have some lovely comments here. So first of all, one of our fellow hosts, Ruby. Hello, my friend. We also have Jawad Bradley. Hi, guys. At the track today. Right, Jared. We need you to be able to be our man on the ground today. If you're at the track, we need intel. We need intel. Okay, so here's an interesting point, Louis and Jared's. Jared Bradley said Leclerc. Jared. This is getting confusing already. Saw a bit of the post-race interview. He was complaining that there was an issue with turning left. Now that's a bit fundamental. With the racing car turning left, all right, depends if you like NASCAR or not. And then also Leclerc was brought in for scrutiny at the end of Q1. I did notice that. That certainly didn't help him, but I don't think that was. I don't think that was going to do much. But here's a question from the very professional host Ruby. She said, with Leclerc having to drive from the back of the pack again tomorrow, are we expecting him to bottle it and make a significant error during the race? So first of all, Louis, what do you think?
I think it's going to be if he's having issues, most likely he's going to start from the pit lane tomorrow. If he's having that big of an issue, and I did see that post-race interview with Charlotte, I think it is going to just be a matter of rear suspension configuration is going to have to completely change, and which means they've got to fiddle with the car under part firme. So I'd say it's going to be more likely than not that he's going to be starting from the pit lane tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of work. They've got to probably make a very alternative strategy work out, because while this sort of, new final sector has, increased the speed, but we don't know how much that's going to have an effect on overtaking, and overtaking can be tricky. So we'll see. We'll see how he gets on, but I think it's going to be a very tough race for Leclerc tomorrow.
No, absolutely. Jawad, do you think Charles is going to bottle it?
Oh, yeah, I guess it's not going to be a great afternoon for him. We know that Ferrari are not the greatest with tyre management either, and I think best thing that they can do is start from the pit lane and work on the car overnight and figure out what the root of this problem is that he's been having through qualifying. So yeah, it's just I don't know. I have no words for Ferrari at the moment. It's been a pretty dismal showing given all the changes they undertook in the off season and the expectation and hope that they always come into a new year with.
Yeah, I mean I mean, by this point, is it just like blind optimism? Is it hope? I mean, are they just licking their fingers, sticking it in the air and seeing what sticks? Because that's, to me, that's what it feels like.
Pretty much. I'm not going to disagree with that. And it's pretty stupid, for people in the press to be coming out and, or for it to be even insinuated that they're going after Lewis Hamilton as a driver, because drivers are not, they're the last of Ferrari's problems at the moment. They've got to really sort out, the team and the car and everything, and this, politicking going on between John Elkann and whatnot is, I mean, the guy doesn't know anything about racing, and it's like watching a arrogant little child in charge of something that, and just poor decision after poor decision. Just, yeah, I'm not a Ferrari fan, as many people know, but it is quite embarrassing watching them constantly trip over themselves over and over again.
Yeah, and they can bring in, Fred Vasseur, they can bring in, whoever they want. Ultimately, they're still just doing a tremendous bottle job. Do you have anything more to add on Ferrari, or do you think we should stop beating them now that they're already dead?
Yeah, that horse, the prancing horse, is now become a dead horse, and I don't want to kick it any further.
Yeah. It's like maybe it's time to bury it and move on. But right, enough analogies aside, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. It's nice to have a couple of questions in the post show. Yes, we will look forward to reviewing what is hopefully not going to be a boring as sin Spanish Grand Prix tomorrow. So for everybody who has listened, watched, or taken part, whatever, thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.